At the front of our house, we have the Dusty Miller, which I grew from seed in the greenhouse. It's beautiful. I love the texture. It's so soft. It's just gorgeous. I love that it's getting this silvery color, which Dusty Millers are known for. In the beginning, it was more of a dark green. And then we have the recently identified cherry parfait rose, which is gorgeous. I planted this last year because I needed to put it in something soon, some soil soon. So I put it in a pot, and for some reason the tag disappeared over the winter time. So this is just living happily in a pot for now. You can see the coloration. It's so gorgeous with the darker red on the outside, and the inside is just so sweet with the white and some pink. Here's a bud just beginning to open. It's beautiful. I can imagine this would be great in a bouquet. Underneath here we have some spring flowers, some geranium that is coming up from last year. I believe that's the Roseanne variety. I need to do some weeding, but to help out with the weeding, as you can see close to the bricks, we get some grass and of course some crabgrass, which is basically my nemesis. It's really hard to pick up and get rid of without using some kind of harsh chemicals. So I like to try natural things first. So decided to plant some ajuga, which this is the Burgundy Glow Ajuga. Very pretty. This was actually 4 plants, and I was able to divide it up into many more plants. So as you can see, it is taking root, and I have some dahlias mixed in as well, which could use some grooming up, obviously, but yeah, so just working on filling this in. And so what I did was I filled the ajuga all around this pathway, and I also am trying to kind of go with the flow of the pathway, the natural curve, and fill it in with this Delph blue geranium every so often around the outside. Here's one that's about ready to bloom, and I can show you one that's already in bloom. Isn't that gorgeous? I love that it looks like the leaves were painted with purple. Start with a white canvas and just add some swirls of purple. It's just so gorgeous. So I have several of those planted along the outside. And here is a tag for the Burgundy Glow. It is bugleweed ajuga, and it can handle the light where it's at, any amount of daily sun. And it gets 6 inches tall, and you're supposed to space it 8 to 10 inches. And it's supposed to fill in. And what's nice about this is it's weed smothering and it's evergreen. So just leave this here so I can refer to it later. But it gets this beautiful purple flower. It's just so pretty. And I just thought it would match really well with and highlight some of the colors that are already in the garden. So here's a stilby, just starting to bloom. Another stilby, and then further on I did a trio and I planted another stilby in the back here. I don't know if you can see it, but there's one right back there. So backing up here, we have some other plants to highlight. We have the lime green coleus, which there are 3 of those, and they should grow and fill in this area. There's another Delph blue, and you can see them periodically. Okay, here we have some hostas, and this particular hosta was given to me by my neighbor, and I had one hosta. I planted that 4 years ago, and I split it up into two, and they used to be right here by the chimney and then down further at the end of the house. Decided to do something different this year because I always envisioned in this area just like a cove of hostas, because this is pretty much the only place where we get a lot of shade. So because we get a lot of shade in this particular area, I want to cram it in and include as many of the beautiful plants that I can get my hands on that would fit in this area. Because of that, this beautiful Lenten rose in the back, which was also given to me by my neighbor as a gift, is just loving its life right now. And this is one that's in the wedding series, and as you can see, these plants have beautiful, beautiful flowers that bloom in the wintertime actually, and it was able to keep its shape. So the petals kind of disappear, but the outer area of the flower stays, and it's just gorgeous. Now, this year I decided to add to the collection of Lenten roses. Again, with the grouping of several in this area, I like to do a pattern of sorts, and like I said, go with this whole flow of the what seems like a natural pathway. Oh, and I just see there's a bumblebee. You see it in the lamium? The purple flower is called the lamium. Oh, it's beautiful. And this is what I love about gardening, because there's always little secret surprises, or so it seems, in the garden. Little pieces to pick apart and just really hone in on. So cool. So here is another Lenten rose, and that one is going to be pink or red, I believe. Here's another one back here. And then actually I planted the ivory prince over here, and the ivory prince is very similar to the original one that I have, except that this one is more upright. As you can see, the stems point more towards the sky, and so do the flowers. A lot of the Lenten roses are deemed more of the bashful, so to speak, flowers, because they're always facing down, as you can see in this one. Still gorgeous, still beautiful. And what's nice is they bring a lot of color in the winter time. Before we move on from this particular area, I just want to point out that of course I do need to do some weeding, and I would like to do some pressure washing and fixing up the bricks, but at this stage of the game, what I'm really trying to do is work on the weed suppression by planting some other plants, and also just getting the plants that I have around in the ground so that they can start flourishing, especially as we reach the higher temperatures. Right now we've been lucky to have like 60s, 70s, but we're approaching 80s and 90s towards the end of this week. So I'm really in a rush to get some things planted in the ground that I didn't have in yet, that are still living in pots. I can show you some of the English roses that I purchased almost a year ago, and they started all arriving maybe towards April, towards the end of April, beginning of May. So what I like to do is just find a perfect spot for them. But for now, like I said, I have some in pots, some are in the original pots, and I can go through them. But to backtrack and to talk about the weed suppression, sometimes you can get away with weed suppression through annuals. So I have this brown-eyed girl, it's called. It's a sunflower, and it's Monrovia. So it came from Lowe's, which carries a lot of the Monrovia brands, and this gets gorgeous. It gets like 3 feet wide and about the same tall. And so I have 2 in the front here on this left side, 2 on the other side of the opening of the porch, and then one around the back side of the porch, which I can, you know, towards the other flower bed, and I can show you that. But I did remove the knockout roses that I had here. They had succumbed to some kind of familiar disease that the knockout roses typically get, which involves like the leaves shriveling up. So I did remove those. And I'm looking forward to having something in here besides the bright pinkish red color of the red double knockouts. I think it'll be fun. Here we have some of the Summer Crush hydrangea, and this is going on year 4 for these, but this is probably only the 3rd year in this particular location. But you can see the coloration coming through, and what's cool about these is, like many of the other hydrangeas, the colors will change depending on the acidity of the soil. So last year these 3 were pink, and then I did have 3 others against the house, but this year I decided to move them, and the ones that were against the house were purple in color. Now I'm interested in seeing if they will hold true to their purple color, or now that they're in a different location, will they turn pink? And it looks like it may be so. As you can see, this one looks like it's skewing more of a bright pink color, and I'm not quite sure if this one has color yet. Nope, just the initial buds right now. So that is really cool to me. I love experiments in the garden. While I'm over this way, you can see some of the items that I have here. Now, these were some of the daffodils that I had planted, and I decided to mask next year some of the dying back of the daffodils by planting this Gara. So I have a dark pink Gara in here, which I got from Lowe's, and I believe I got some from our local Seltzers, which is nearby. But this one is more of a pink color, a white with a pink, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, looks like 4 of those in this particular location. And I thought that would be cool. Once it grows, it'll, as the other leaves from the daffodils are dying back, it'll fill in. And I have another one over here. Now, while I'm here, I can show you some of the other items that are in here. I've walked around and I didn't make any attention to this. This is the Jack Frost brunnera, and this brunnera gets to be beautiful. You can see the fuzzy leaves, and it's very hosta-esque, very similar to hosta. This, however, is what draws me to it, is the beautiful, almost forget-me-not like stems or flowers that it gets on the end of the stems that it shoots up. Now I could go and cut these back, which I might, but like I said, at this stage of the game, I'm not worried about pruning as much as I'm worried about getting everything into the ground. And then once that's in, I can keep up with the grooming and the, fine-tuning of things. Now, I did mention some of the hostas last year on clearance. At the end of the year, I did pick up some of these smaller hostas, and that's about as big as they're supposed to get. It looks like I could actually split this one up into 2. Actually, it looks like there are 2 growing here. And that's what's cool about hostas and many of the other plants, is that you can cut them up in half, divide them in half, or even in thirds or fourths, depending on how mature they are, and you can get so much more use, and they can go really far in your garden, and you can really space them out and have this gorgeous drift or whatever you want to do with your flowers, your plants. Here we have some of the heucheras, and this is, I believe, the wild berry color, and then there is a silver gumdrop there. And so the wild berry heucheras seem to be the ones that have really thrived for me in my area. I'm a zone 6, and you can see down here, you can easily divide the heucheras right about here. And that's what I did. I had those, like I said, against the house last year, and I decided, you know what, I want to draw attention to some coloration underneath this rhododendron. It gets a beautiful color, and it whole of pink in this late spring, mid-spring, but these stay evergreen, and I'm missing a lot of color in this area typically. So I moved the heucheras to this area and did a grouping of them, but I also repositioned this, it's called Primula Ballerina Pink Ice, which is a primrose, and it starts with a white flower, and it turns a beautiful pink color. And I found out recently that I can divide those up. So as you can see under here, I divided those recently, so they're just now, you know, getting happy, and you know, some of the leaves are a little stressed, obviously. Here's a remnant of one of the flowers. Okay, so what I did was I divided them up, and I got several more of those flowers. So that is what's so cool about gardening. So when you divide them up, you will get so many more plants out of those. And I did the same thing with the brunnera. I started with maybe 4 plants, and now you can pick apart all of the plants here that I got from just those 4, and I gave several away. Okay, so to piggyback on what I said before, here is the burgundy glow, and I like that because it goes with the heuchera color. It kind of picks that up, and the astilbe. Okay, so I added some dahlias, which those are zone 7 and up. So because it's not in our zone, we would have to lift them up, the bulbs, or the tubers actually, and store them. Now I haven't ever done that successfully. I haven't really had the foresight to do that previously, but maybe I'll try it this year. We'll see how that goes. See if I have time at that. You know, it's usually a busy time in fall for me. This is beautiful. Okay, I bought this hydrangea last year on clearance at Lowe's towards the end of the season. I popped it in the ground, and this is the first year that I'm seeing this from the start, and I'm so thrilled that we're getting this gorgeous blue color. I really like the blue because it's not really found on many plants, so when I can find a blue plant, I add it to the garden. And I love that this blue, when it's in bloom, will coincide with that particular blue. And speaking of blue, it's out of season now, but I have Lithidora planted in here. It is evergreen, but the blooms have already been spent, and I don't know if you can see, I'll zoom in, but it provides a ground cover. Now, they were very, very close when I planted them last year. I had several plants in here, maybe 10, and I moved some of them away so I would make room for the primrose and the heucheras and all that. So it looks like it's just now beginning to flush back a little bit. It didn't look very happy there for a little while, but that's how the other Lithidora looked when I did the same thing last year, and I divided them up into several more plants. So I have hope that it will be fine. So this is the pink and blue lungwort. It likes hard shade. It says it grows 16 to 18 inches, and it gets like the blue, pink flowers on it. So there are 3 here. This one gets the most shade. Now, since I planted them a couple months ago, I started filling in this area, and some more of these flowers, some more of these plants are growing up, and now that it's getting warmer out and they're getting more leaves, it's also providing a little bit more shade. So I think these 2 here will be fine. In the beginning, most of the leaves were getting this color. I'm gonna pull that off. Okay, it looked like it was not very happy, so I did pull a lot of the leaves off of this, and now it's just flushing back. And again, like the Jack Frost brunnera, this is a fuzzy leaf, and I just love how it's spotted. It's also called spotted lungwort, I believe. And it says pairs with ferns, sedges, coral bells, heuchera, which is what we have here, and primrose. So we have a lot of that here that's on the list. Next to me, I have the white wands veronica. This is a smaller one because I was able to divide this up from a bigger plant, and I was able to get several other plants from it. So that's what we have there. I'm not the best at growing annuals because they require a lot of water. So you can see this is drying out. Last night what I did was I went around with some fertilizer, so hopefully I can get them to bounce back a little bit. These are some marigolds, snowball marigolds, which I planted from seed, and I have a good amount of them planted throughout the garden. So I cannot wait to see how they survive out here, given my track record of annuals here, but we're gonna give it a go. I do like buying a lot of drought tolerant plants because then you don't need to worry about watering as much. But this is an angel face rose. This is new. I planted that this year. Here's another annual. Another beautiful rose. And this, I believe, is the same one. This one is called Quicksilver. Beautiful. We have some coneflowers, echinacea. This one's an orange color, and then we have white hidden back there, but there are so many buds coming up. And this is a taller version. Looks like that one in the back is going to be yellow. So this is my goal this year, like I said, is ground cover. What I did several times is I went through and cut the grass down low here. I need to do it again, but I kind of want to show you this so that you can appreciate it when I do work on it, and I can show you that it looks so much better once you add the ground cover in and add some plants that can cause some weed suppression. So amongst the brunnera, I have that hydrangea back there. I also have some columbine that I like to plant. I have them in pots right now, so they're not looking the best because they need to get in the ground. Probably need some fertilizer. Getting a little yellow, so that's on my to-do list. But there's pink and white, and then back there is a purple and white, which is gorgeous. Next, I have the Windermere roses. I have 3, and they just shoot for the sky. I did have them last year back here, kind of as a backdrop to this rhododendron. And they kept falling over because they do get pretty top heavy. So I thought, I might try them against the house. That way they have a little bit more support if they start falling backwards. It can go against the wall a little bit, but you can see this one really shoots for the sky. But they are prolific bloomers in my experience. I just went through and deadheaded them, but you can see how full it is. Just gorgeous. Now, new to the garden, there's a white one's Veronica. New to the garden is the denim and lace, and I have 4 of these planted here. And my thought process is this is going to fill up, get huge, because the tag shows us that it gets 28 to 32 inches, and I just love how it provides that structure. Similarly to the catmint, but I have a lot of the catmint over in the ditch garden, and I thought over here I'd like to do something similar but a little different. So I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the denim and lace, and I thought that that purple in the front with the white in the back is just going to be so pretty. I also am trying to find homes for some of these roses. I do have roses dotted throughout this garden right here, and I'm not sure if I want to keep this one here. This one is more of a pinky color, and it is Queen of Sweden. Now, story of the Queen of Sweden. This poor thing keeps getting moved around in my garden, and I need to find a permanent spot for it, but it keeps thriving. It keeps coming back. It does not like being moved. It's one of those that looks like it is at the end of its road of life, and it surprises me every time. Keeping it in a pot just for a little bit because the root system is not very strong from being dug up. I probably moved it 3 times last year, and I dug it out again this year because it was up at in a different garden up by the road, and I decided I wanted something different up there. So I moved it again, and this poor thing really is bouncing back. It's impressive to me that it can come back from the throes of life. But here is a phlox. That phlox was in my circle garden, and last year I moved it. That is one that is found a new home. And oh, back here we have some of the drops of Jupiter oregano. Now, I only had several of these plants, and it looks like it divided up. Maybe it's self-seeded here. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and maybe 7 actually. So when I am retooling this garden, I'll probably move these around a little bit. Right now they're in a semi-drift, so it will be okay. I know that they do not like a whole ton of sun, because then they get really leggy, like really huge, and start flopping over. So this area gets a lot of morning sun, and then in the afternoon, because the sun here is coming from the east side, so the sun will come in the morning, but then in the afternoon we get a lot of the shade because of our porch blocking some of the sunlight. But yeah, this is our little work in progress, and I thought I'd show you what it looks like right now, currently, because this is on my list to really fill this up and make it gorgeous. So thank you guys for watching, and I'm just so excited to share all this with you. There was a bird's nest in that rose tree, and I think I shared a picture of it. Yeah, I shared a picture of it in a previous post, but the birds have vacated. They're happy and healthy. So now we can work on pruning up the tree and continuing on. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll just pan over here to our puppy who's resting in the grass. That's Jasmine. So thank you for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. P.S. I forgot to share this plant with you. Sedum. This is Rock and Round Superstar Sedum. gets 8 to 10 inches. And what I did was I planted the main plant here, but I took off some stems and I put them in the ground, and usually sedum is okay with that. And so I might end up with 4 new plants from this one beautiful plant. So that's it. Just wanted to share that extra tidbit with you. We'll talk to you soon.